My son told me I was embarrassing him. I am 80 years old. I have cooked his meals and washed his clothes and sat up through every fever and every heartbreak and every 3 a.m. phone call he ever made. And he told me I was embarrassing him in front of his friends, in a restaurant, with people at the next table close enough to hear every word. I did not cry. I wanted to, but something else happened instead. Something that had been building for a very long time finally stopped being patient. That was the last day I stayed silent. I need to tell you this story from the beginning because it did not start in that restaurant. It started much earlier, the way these things always do, with small moments that seemed harmless at the time. A look across the room when I said something, a quick subject change when I brought up the past. A gentle but firm suggestion that maybe I did not need to share my opinion at the family dinner table. That maybe things had changed and I was a little behind. That maybe the world worked differently now and I should just listen and let the younger people handle it. I accepted all of that. I told myself it was love. I told myself he was busy and stressed, and I did not want to make things harder for him. I made myself smaller and quieter, and I called it being a good mother. And the smaller I got, the more normal it became for everyone around me to expect less from me. To treat me like a piece of furniture that was allowed at the table as long as it did not take up too much space. And then came the restaurant. I had said something. I honestly cannot even fully remember what it was. Something about the waiter, something small and conversational, and my son looked at me with that particular expression I had been seeing for a few years. The one that meant, "Here she goes again." And he said it. Not cruelly, which somehow made it worse. Matter-of-factly, like it was just a fact he was reporting. "Mom, you are embarrassing me." And his friends laughed. Just a little. Just enough. I sat there for a moment, and I felt something I had not felt in years. I felt myself, the full version of myself, the one I had been folding up and tucking away to avoid exactly this kind of moment. And she was angry. She was not hysterical and she was not dramatic. She was just done. I put down my fork. I looked at my son directly, and I said, "I raised you. I stayed up with you when you were sick, and I worked 2 jobs when your father left. And I gave you everything I had and a great deal of what I did not have. And you do not get to use the word embarrassing about me. Not here. Not anywhere." And then I picked my fork back up and finished my dinner. The table was very quiet. He called me the next morning. He apologized. A real apology, not the defensive kind. And I accepted it because I love him and because he meant it. But something had already changed. Not between us, inside me. I had remembered something I had been letting myself forget. That my voice has value. That my age is not an expiration date on my right to speak. that being loved by the people around you is not supposed to require you to disappear. I am 80 years old, and I want to talk to you about this because I think there are women watching this right now who know exactly what I am describing. Not necessarily a restaurant moment, but the slow accumulation of small moments where you made yourself quieter and smaller and more manageable for the comfort of people around you. And if that is you, I need you to stay with me. If this is landing somewhere in your chest right now, if you are nodding along to any part of what I just said, I want you to drop something in the comments below. Just tell me, has someone ever made you feel like you were too much? You do not have to write an essay. Just let me know you are here. Because I think more of us have sat at that table than anyone talks about. And sometimes just knowing you are not alone in it is the thing that matters most. Here is what I have learned about silence. When you practice silence long enough, it stops feeling like a choice and starts feeling like your natural state. You forget that you used to speak freely. You forget the sound of your own opinion delivered without apology. You start editing yourself before the words even form, cutting out the parts that might make someone uncomfortable, smoothing down the edges, presenting only the version of yourself that is most likely to be received without friction. And you tell yourself that is maturity, that is wisdom. That is knowing when to speak and when to let it go. But there is a difference between choosing silence and being trained into it. And by the time I sat down in that restaurant, I had been trained into it so thoroughly that I had almost stopped noticing it was happening. The training does not always come from cruelty. That is the complicated part. My son is not a cruel person. He loves me genuinely, and I know that. The training came from a culture that has very specific ideas about what older women are supposed to be. Quiet, grateful, undemanding, available when needed, and otherwise content to wait in the corner with their opinions to themselves. We are supposed to be the soft background of other people's lives, not voices in the foreground with things to say and positions to hold and experiences worth listening to. And when we fail to perform that role correctly, when we take up space or hold a strong opinion, or refuse to laugh off something that was not funny, we get told, in various ways, that we are being difficult, too sensitive, embarrassing. I want to tell you about my friend Rose. I have known Rose for 40 years. She is 2 years older than me, sharp as anyone I have ever met, with a laugh that could fill a room, and a memory for detail that honestly puts most people half her age to shame. Rose had 3 sons, all of them good men, all of them educated, all of them loving in their way. And Rose, over the course of about a decade, slowly stopped being Rose at family gatherings. I watched it happen. She stopped telling the long stories she used to tell, the ones that started somewhere unexpected and ended somewhere true. She stopped arguing when she disagreed. She stopped being loud. She became pleasant and easy and accommodating and completely unlike herself. And one day over coffee she said to me, "I think I just got tired of the looks. I got tired of seeing my children glance at each other when I started talking. So I stopped starting." She said it without bitterness. That was the part that broke my heart a little. She had made peace with it. She had decided that this smaller version of herself was the price of a smooth relationship, and she was willing to pay it. And I understood that decision. I had been making the same one. But I also knew that Rose was worth more than smooth. That every woman sitting across that table at a family dinner who edits herself into palatability is offering something real and losing something irreplaceable. We have lived. That is the thing. That is the credential that nobody can take from us, and nobody should be allowed to dismiss. Every opinion I hold has been formed by 8 decades of watching how things actually work. Every story I tell contains something true that came from living through it, not reading about it, not hearing about it secondhand, but being there with my own body and my own hands and my own heart in the middle of it. That is not nothing. That is not embarrassing. That is the most valuable thing in any room. Now I want to ask you something, and I want you to be honest with yourself when you answer it. When did you last say something real, something you actually believed, something slightly uncomfortable or inconvenient, without softening it first to protect someone else's feelings? When did you last hold your ground in a conversation without eventually backing down just to end the tension? Because I think a lot of us, women especially, women of a certain age especially, have become so fluent in the language of accommodation that we have genuinely forgotten how to speak our first language, the one where we just say the true thing. And here is what I want you to know. You are not alone in any of this. There are women sitting exactly where you are sitting right now, feeling exactly what you are feeling. And the reason I keep making these videos is because every time I say something out loud that I was not supposed to say, something I kept quiet for too long, I get messages from women telling me that they felt it too, that they needed to hear it said, that something in them that had been very still for a very long time woke up a little. If that is happening for you right now, if something in this video is waking something up, please subscribe to this channel and hit the bell icon so you do not miss what comes next. Because I have a great deal more to say, and I intend to keep saying it, and I want you here for all of it. After the restaurant, I started making small changes that turned out to be enormous. I stopped apologizing before I gave my opinion. I stopped adding, "Well, that is just what I think," at the end of sentences, as if my thoughts required a disclaimer. I stopped laughing along when something was not funny to me. Not rudely, just honestly. I let my face do what my face actually wanted to do, instead of performing the reaction that would make everyone comfortable. These sound like tiny things. They were not tiny. Each one of them was a small act of returning to myself. And the cumulative effect over weeks and months was that I became recognizable again, to myself, which turned out to be the only audience that mattered. My relationship with my son is genuinely better now. Not easier exactly, but better, because he gets a real person. He gets someone whose yes means yes, because her no means no. He gets a mother with edges, and edges, it turns out, are part of what makes a person real and trustworthy and worth actually knowing. I think when I was performing my soft, agreeable version of myself, he could feel on some level that it was a performance, that he was not quite getting the whole of me. Now he does. And whatever is uncomfortable about that is more than compensated for by the fact that we are actually talking, actually saying things and meaning them, actually knowing each other. I want you to think about one thing you have been keeping quiet that deserves to be said. Not to start a war, not to burn anything down. Just one true thing that you have been editing out of your voice for the comfort of someone who probably does not deserve that level of protection. Hold it in your mind for a moment. Feel the shape of it, because that thing is part of you, and you do not have to carry it silently anymore, just because keeping quiet has become the habit. Tell me in the comments what that one thing is. Or if you are not ready to say it yet, just tell me what you thought about while I was talking. I read every single comment. I want to know what this brought up for you, because your story matters. Your experience belongs in the conversation, not tucked away, not softened into something easier to digest. Right here, exactly as it is. Rose called me last spring. Out of nowhere, no particular reason, just called. And she talked the way she used to talk, the long story kind, starting somewhere unexpected and ending somewhere true. When she finished, I told her I had missed that. She was quiet for a second, and then she said, I had missed it too. I just forgot for a while that I was allowed. You are allowed. I need you to hear that from me clearly and directly. You are allowed to have a voice. You are allowed to take up space. You are allowed to be the full and complicated and opinionated and occasionally inconvenient person that 80 years of living has made you. You earned every one of those opinions, every single one of them. Do not give them away for free just because someone at a dinner table does not feel like listening. My son told me I was embarrassing him. I was not embarrassing him. I was being myself. And after a lifetime of practicing the difference between those two things, I am finally clear on which one I choose. You do not need anyone's permission to be exactly who you are. Not your children's permission, not your family's permission, not the permission of any table or room or restaurant full of people who would prefer a quieter version of you. I am 80 years old. I am not quieter. I am louder. And I am just getting started. If you are still here with me, if this landed somewhere real for you, please subscribe to this channel and watch our other videos, because this is what we do here. We say the things that should have been said a long time ago. And I promise you there is more coming, and you do not want to miss it. Hit the bell so you actually see it when it arrives. And one last thing. Before you go, leave me a comment. Tell me what you thought. Tell me if you have had your restaurant moment. Tell me what you are still keeping quiet and why. I am here. I am listening. And unlike a lot of places in this world, here your voice is not an inconvenience. It is the whole point.